All right, so here we are, the mainstream rejection and why there's no love for this theory that there's a second Sphinx under the Giza Plateau. So we're going to start off with, what's the mainstream saying? Well, they're saying that there's no archaeological evidence, the technology is not tested or proven, that it can't see inside the structures, and the discovery is outside the entire official system. Archeology, Zaki Hawass, they are all saying that that's not true. And actually here is a response a while back from Zahi himself on Facebook, and this was to the original claims of there being a mega structure underneath the pyramids. Question to this is Biondi in his lane, right? Where is he at? What's he doing? How's he going about this? He is the radar guy, right? That's what he's known for, that's what he does, and what he was doing is building a new radar-based method. And when you look at the research paper, which we did yesterday in the previous episode a little bit, again, go check it out for yourself. When we look at the actual paper, it is the explanation of a new system, not the convinced discovery of new structures. The claims of new structures is really just a byproduct of everything else, right? And I do want to say that right here in his research paper, Biondi even mentions that SAR technology is not good at revealing what is inside the structures. And again, as we kind of went over, it's not, right? It's good for mapping things out, but where they were being able to see inside was that addition of the Doppler tomography, right? That really was what was taking the images in between the vibrations and using that to map out what was going on inside. So again, the claim and the blow up on this is really kind of coming out on the podcast and really getting fed leading questions talking about this, or maybe answering it without having the proof or anything yet. But I will say, from what I've heard and how I interpret it, it is a very speculative just thought, and I think it is being used to push forward just to get some more research done on what could potentially be under the Giza Plateau, if anything. There were some next steps. What could we really do? I mean, obviously everybody's going to go, well, ground penetrating radar, and that has been done multiple times on the plateau. The biggest problem with the GPR is limestone is dense and it blocks the radar, so you can't really get, I mean, you're 20 feet of limestone and bedrock, so it's hard to really get an accurate reading of what is below in a mapping with the GPR. It's just not great. Now, there's also a lot of talk about LiDAR, and use LiDAR a lot. It's working in the Amazon. Okay, LiDAR works great in the Amazon because what LiDAR does is it's able to remove the heavy vegetation and lay down the topography of what's below. LiDAR does not penetrate the ground either. It removes the vegetation. The vegetation in the Amazon is so thick, the canopy is so interlaced that you can't see through it. Only something like 8, 10, 3%, some crazy low percentage of sunlight actually gets through the canopy in the Amazon forest. And so LiDAR is just removing that canopy. There's no canopy. See, there's no canopy above the Sphinx, so LiDAR is just going to enhance the ground. You know, it's going to sharpen the imagery of the ground, but it's not really going to get under and show what's underneath. Kind of besides drilling, right? And that's, you know, the permits, and we're going to get into that in a second, but drilling's really out of the question too. You're not just going to be excavating the Giza Plateau. I mean, even if you're 150% sure something's under there, getting a permit to excavate the plateau, I just don't think that that's in the cards anytime soon. So muon tomography is probably the best idea or the best next step. It's kind of the gold standard for non-invasive deep scanning. Seismic surveys are a little bit better than GPR for deep surface readings, but again, even with the limestone, the seismic surveys could have some issues mapping what's underneath. The muon topography, it's a density map, not a blueprint, right? So it passes the radar down through the stone, and what you get is a image of particle density. So the more stone, so the thicker the stone, the more stone that's back there, the fewer particles you're going to see. The less stone, or the bigger, you know, if there's a void back there, you're going to see more particles. And this is the technology that they used to locate the hidden chamber above the Grand Gallery inside the Great Pyramid. But again, there are problems with all of this, and the problem that you would face with the muon is getting the detectors deep enough, because you would still have to drill holes down into the plateau to drop the detectors so the radar can hit the detectors, bounce off, do its thing, map out as it's coming back up. So, you can't really put the detectors on the surface and expect to get an accurate picture of what's below. But you may be able to get that permit easier than a permit to fully excavate the pyramids, or to fully excavate the Giza Plateau. Because again, that's really the main issue here is there's heavy restrictions, the permits are tightly controlled, and just being able to excavate the site is crazy. So hopefully this kind of gives some information a little bit deeper onto what's really going on with the scanning. And like I said, don't even take my word for it, but also don't just take the headline words for it. So go out, do the research yourself, check out Filippo Bondi's paper, and make your own informed decisions. It's time that we actually do a little bit of reading ourselves. We can't really appreciate you. See you on the next one. Stay curious.